The UAE has strengthened its air defense capabilities with Israeli technology, including systems designed to counter missile and drone threats. But Abu Dhabi's latest diplomatic moves are raising questions over whether its strategic partnership with Israel is now facing serious pressure. The UAE may be signaling a new strategic direction, with its growing engagement with fellow Muslim-majority powers fueling speculation that Abu Dhabi could eventually support a broader security framework that some are already comparing to an Islamic NATO. Even as the UAE deepens its access to Israeli defense technology, Abu Dhabi is simultaneously strengthening its strategic engagement with Turkey and Pakistan, creating a potentially complicated three-way alignment that could reshape the regional balance of power. The UAE, a key US security partner and an important regional competitor to Saudi Arabia, has now joined other Arab nations in opposing Israel's settlement plans, highlighting the increasingly difficult balance Abu Dhabi faces between its Western ties and Arab diplomatic interests. The foreign ministers of the UAE, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Jordan, Indonesia, Pakistan, Turkey, and Egypt have jointly condemned Israel's continued settlement policies in the occupied Palestinian territories. The ministers categorically rejected Israel's E1 settlement plan, along with related settlement activities being carried out east of occupied East Jerusalem. They also condemned settler violence against Palestinians, including attacks supported by Israeli authorities against Palestinian civilians, homes, and property. According to the ministers, Israel's settlement activities violate international law and contradict relevant resolutions adopted by the United Nations. They warned that the E1 plan represents a dangerous escalation that could threaten regional and international peace and security. The ministers said expansion of the E1 settlement area could undermine the geographical continuity of the occupied Palestinian territory, particularly by severing links between the West Bank and East Jerusalem. They cautioned that the plan could damage the prospects of establishing a viable and contiguous Palestinian state based on the 1967 borders, with East Jerusalem as its capital. The ministers also referred to US President Donald Trump's comprehensive peace plan, including its stated rejection of annexation and forced displacement. The ministers reaffirmed that a two-state solution, based on international law and relevant UN resolutions, remains the only viable path toward a just, comprehensive, and lasting peace. Finally, they warned that any actions undermining the two-state solution could further intensify regional tensions, threaten international security, and jeopardize the possibility of lasting peace in the Middle East. As Iran rained missiles and drones across the region, a new report reveals how Israel quietly used the chaos to deepen its security ties with key Gulf partners. Axios reports that Israel secretly deployed an Iron Dome battery and IDF troops to operate it on UAE territory early in the Iran war. Two Israeli officials and one US official told Axios this was the first time Iron Dome and its crews had ever been deployed abroad to defend a third country. That move marked the first ever Iron Dome deployment outside Israel and the US, turning the Emirati desert into a live testbed for Israel's flagship shield. One Israeli official said the UAE-based battery intercepted dozens of Iranian missiles aimed at Emirati targets, adding another layer to the Gulf's defense. The system was reportedly run by IDF personnel stationed on UAE soil, meaning Israeli soldiers were directly defending a Gulf monarch's airspace for the first time. Officials say the deployment was greenlit after a direct call between Benjamin Netanyahu and UAE President Mohammed bin Zayed, sealing the deal leader to leader. During the joint US-Israel war on Iran, the UAE emerged as the region's most heavily targeted country, absorbing more strikes than Israel itself. Emirati figures cited in regional media say Iran launched roughly 550 missiles and over 2,200 drones at the UAE over the course of the campaign. Most of those projectiles were intercepted, but some still punched through and hit military facilities, airports, and civilian sites in and around major cities. The sustained barrages pushed Abu Dhabi to quietly seek extra help from allies willing to share real hard air and missile defenses, not just political statements. Israeli and Emirati officials now say their militaries have coordinated closely since the war's start on February 28, with near-daily contacts on threats and targets. Axios also reports that the Israeli Air Force struck short-range missile sites in southern Iran specifically to reduce the fire aimed at Gulf states. Those preemptive raids aimed to destroy launchers before they could fire at the UAE and its neighbors, extending Israel's umbrella far beyond its own borders. Deploying Israeli troops on Emirati soil is seen as highly sensitive in the Gulf, given domestic politics and regional optics around open military ties with Israel. Emirati officials told Axios that this war has already shifted public attitudes about who is truly seen as a protector when missiles start falling. One official said plainly that anyone who helps shield the UAE from Iranian attacks will be viewed positively by the public, regardless of past taboos. A senior Emirati figure stressed that the UAE is not going to forget what Israel, and Netanyahu personally, did to help during the worst barrages. Another official was careful to add that the same gratitude extends to other countries that helped defend the UAE, signaling this is part of a wider coalition memory. At the same time, sharing an Iron Dome battery while Israel itself was under threat is likely to spark debate back home about stretching limited defense assets overseas. Netanyahu's decision has raised questions inside Israel about whether diverting such a prized system abroad could leave Israeli cities more exposed in a long war. For Abu Dhabi, though, seeing Israeli air defense crews on the ground at a critical hour may become a defining memory that shapes future alliances. Officials in both capitals now say their partnership is the closest it has been since normalization, with security ties catching up to the 2020 political breakthrough. Israel and the UAE signed a US-brokered peace deal in 2020 under the Abraham Accords, and this war has turned that paper treaty into a real defense alliance. Just hours after Trump MBZ call, Iran deals a big blow to UAE as Gulf tensions spike. Iran fired 2 ballistic missiles at US ally UAE, raising fresh fears of a wider escalation. 2 missiles launched from Iran, with UAE Ministry of Defense confirming the shock attack. One fell outside territorial waters, another within. UAE reveals where Iran's missiles landed. Iranian missiles intercepted. UAE sounds alarm and puts its forces on high alert. Latest attack comes as Iran's parliament speaker issued a fresh warning to the US, raising the stakes. The Iran parliament speaker said, and I quote, "Americans think squeezing Iran harder will win concessions that were never part of the agreement. Besant and Hegseth are way out of their league. Stop waiting for the clown crew to pull a rabbit out of their hat and clean up the mess you made." End quote.
Let me be clear. Until America's obligations in the Memorandum of Understanding, including lifting the blockade, releasing blocked assets, lifting oil sanctions, ending threats and military operations on all fronts, and other conditions that America has agreed to in the memorandum are implemented, the strait will not be opened.
Are these parallel lines converging or diverging? It's not very systematic on our end, but what I would say is that the agreement over the Strait of Hormuz would make it much easier for us to resume the talks between the United States and Iran.
Last week you said that you would soon declare the Strait of Hormuz to be a territory of the United States. Could you elaborate?
Well, I just think it's a great idea, yeah. I mean, we control it. We control it with the blockade. We have a blockade. We control it with the blockade. And I like the idea of declaring it a territory.
Why can't you do that?
We have total control over the strait.
On behalf of the elected representatives of the people, I declare that we will not allow the blood of the martyred leader, the innocent children of Minab, and the other martyrs of the second and third sacred offenses to be shed in vain, under the guidance of the supreme leader of the revolution, and in accountability to the people of Iran. We commit to employing all our capabilities to secure the rights of the Iranian nation, end the aggression, punish the aggressor, and uphold the pride of our country. We will not allow the enemy to undermine our national unity, the people's presence, the resilience of the nation, or the resolve of our officials. A united, powerful, and vigilant Iran, relying on Almighty God, the guidance of the Supreme Leader, the will of the nation, and the full coordination and synergy among our military, diplomatic, and service sectors, will emerge triumphant from this historic test. Divine victory will inevitably be granted to the striving people. Today, based on the duty to realize the conditions and measures set by the Supreme Leader of the Revolution, by employing the power of logic and utilizing the logic of power, and through the coordination of the diplomatic and military fields, we strive to force a delusional America to pay the rights of the Iranian people. Let me be clear. Until America's obligations in the Memorandum of Understanding, including lifting the blockade, releasing blocked assets, lifting oil sanctions, ending threats and military operations on all fronts, and other conditions that America has agreed to in the memorandum are implemented, the strait will not be opened. The enemy, in its new design, seeks economic pressure and the destruction of the country's cohesion, and today, U.S. government officials explicitly state this plan. They want to win the game by creating dissatisfaction and creating a rift within Iranian society, a game in which they have clearly lost so far in the military and diplomatic arenas.
Our current focus is on this issue, the return to what was mentioned in the Memorandum of Understanding, and resuming negotiations between the two parties, US and Iran. These efforts are ongoing, of course, but as you know, we are also awaiting an agreement between the sisterly Sultanate of Oman and Iran regarding the Strait of Hormuz, which will, as we said, enable us to return to the framework of negotiations. The trajectory of events we would like to see in Qatar is an agreement on the opening of the Strait of Hormuz, which would coincide with the resumption of the ceasefire and the resumption of the talks. Are these parallel lines converging or diverging? It's not very systematic on our end, but what I would say is that the agreement over the Strait of Hormuz would make it much easier for us to resume the talks between the United States and Iran. We have already delivered one of the remains of Iranian pilot which Qatar said violated Qatari airspace. We have already received an Iranian delegation. We have already offered to sit down with the Iranians and explain to them the search and rescue operations. The involvement of the ICRC in the statements by the Iranians is just a media ploy, and the attempt of making it look apparently to their own people like they are doing the most that they can. They don't need any third party. We would welcome any verifiers from any party, but this is just a media ploy. It's not a serious ask that the ICRC be part of this. The ICRC needs to be part of this if we were not communicating with the Iranians directly. We are communicating with them. They have an invitation. They are the ones that haven't yet replied to the invitation. The invitation is still open. We were, of course, surprised by these completely unfounded media statements and illogical claims, referring to Iranian military officials saying that Qatar should allow an Iranian team to enter the country to investigate the fate of pilots. The Iranian side held a funeral procession for the body that was handed over to them and was briefed on the search and rescue operations. They have an open invitation to come here to Doha and be informed of the remaining details regarding the search and rescue operations. However, if this is merely for domestic consumption and these statements are intended to resolve a problem for the Iranians domestically, we are frankly not concerned with these statements and have no interest in engaging with them. From our perspective, the matter is clear, and there is no need for media grandstanding.
On the expiration of the Memorandum of Understanding, are you any closer today to reaching a final deal to end Iran's nuclear program?
Well, they want to make a deal, but they're not going to make the kind of a deal that I feel is necessary. Look, we're in there for one reason. Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. You understand that? Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon, and they won't have a nuclear weapon. And right now, them building one after what we did previously with the B-2 bombers, going to be a long time behalf. But Iran cannot have. It's very simple. They can't have a nuclear weapon.
Last week you said that you would soon declare the Strait of Hormuz to be a territory of the United States. Could you elaborate?
Well, I just think it's a great idea. Yeah, I mean, we control it. We control it with the blockade. We have a blockade. We control it with the blockade. And I like the idea of declaring it a territory.
When might you do that?
We have total control over the strait. Now, they can be a nuisance. They can put a mine in the water, and people don't like having mines hit their billion-dollar ships, et cetera. But the blockade has been very effective. And, we're taking out, now maybe that will stop, or maybe it'll open up even further, but we're taking out millions of barrels of oil a week. If you look at the kind of numbers that we're doing, the strait is open. And the oil prices are coming down, and they will continue to come down unless we decide to do something far more drastic than we're doing. Iran is in big trouble. They have 300% inflation. The country's a mess, and the military is totally defeated.
Upgrade your news experience with the all-new HT app. Download now.